Hi, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to another video. And today, I'm going to answer the question that so many of you have been asking me, as though I have any idea, is what in the hell was this ad about? This ad right here about the Pontiac, the make some noise, bringing back the Screaming Chicken, bringing back the Firebird. And while nothing would make me happier than to see that happen, with a V8 in it, ton of horsepower, and blow our minds and replace all of our love for Dodge, since Dodge has left us in a lurch with nothing exciting moving forward. I would take almost anything. You could bring back a friggin' Saturn and stick a V8 in it. Anything that would keep me from having to buy a Mustang. Just kidding, everybody. I'm kidding. You know, I give them Mustang crap. But now they're the last ones. We want a V8. That's the only place I can go. Get a Cadillac, get a Corvette, get myself some New Balances, some freaking shorts, some white socks, and I'm in like Flynn. So what the hell is our choices anymore? Well, I think especially with the Camaro going away and the fact that this would not be the only time GM has ever done anything like this. Let's go back and remember when they launched, I think it was 2020, the LeBron commercial about the Hummer EV, and that was the announcement that Hummer is being brought back to life. So GM has experience in bringing back a formerly dead brand. Well, we know that Pontiac died in, 2009 because they were losing money, headed towards bankruptcy, and they had to kill anything that was bleeding cash off. And they killed it. And everybody was mad. They were saying, why the hell didn't you kill off Buick? Well, Buick was making money because all those senior citizens were buying the daylights out of those things. But the freaking Pontiac died. They killed it. But they didn't kill it because they hated it. They didn't like it. They didn't love it. I mean, there's love out there for the brand. They killed it because they had to. They're heading into bankruptcy, one of the worst recessions that we've ever seen. They call it the Great Recession that we went through in 2007, 8, 9. So by 2010, Pontiac was a memory. But now it's sitting on a shelf with not being used. And why wouldn't they bring that thing back to at least take advantage of some excitement around the brand? They did it with the Hummer, and why wouldn't they bring it back with Pontiac? I think letting something just be dead forever makes no sense. And now that they're much stronger than they were back then, it would make sense that they would bring something back. But just like with Hummer, there's no reason to bring back something full bore. Why not bring back one or two models and then let the GM dealership sell them? It seems like just a no-brainer to me. But what about this article? Well, if you go watch TFL's video and several others, quite a few others online who have reached out to GM and reached out to Car and Driver, they've not gotten straight answers from either of them. Well, when I say not gotten straight answers, I mean they've gotten like no answers, which no comment or it wasn't us, and Car and Driver not responding at all. So the belief is that I think TFL said that GM said, oh, we didn't do it. Well, then Car and Driver's not responding. So did Car and Driver do it to sell more magazines? Because Lord knows I had to drive my happy ass about 26 miles to find a freaking Barnes & Noble to buy this damn thing, because I haven't bought a magazine in about 20 years. But here it is, and now it's all over the internet. And certainly it's got us all talking like crazy because, yes, there's a hole being created, a giant vacuum being created by Stellantis and sucking all the muscle cars that we love out of the marketplace. So even in this article, the comment is made about the Dodge Challenger, and it says, what are you going to go buy a Challenger? Well, you can't go buy a Challenger, and I'll put a link to this thing below that you can read. Actually, let me just go ahead and pop it up on the screen so you all can see it, and I'll blow it up a little bit here so we can see what they talk about, which makes a little bit of sense. As Pontiac fans, it's been a weird 15 years since we left, hasn't it? Now, we can't definitely say that Pontiac's absence influenced the events we have all been through, but come on, Caffeine comes out of Four Loko, and now it's in Lemonade. Everything on the road looks like an Aztec now. You need America. America needs us. You need us. America needs us. The future needs us. So Pontiac is back. Our first model is a hybrid. Surprised? Well, it means a battery and an electric motor to start a 667 horsepower supercharged 372 cubic inch V8. And we think you're going to want one because what else are you going to do? You can't buy a new Dodge Challenger, hint, hint, and leave the splitter guards on anymore. Don't worry, we got you. Our new car's entire front end is a splitter guard. At Pontiac, we're here to offer a future filled with V8s, great sounds, gold pinstripes, window louvers, and if someone shouts last call, We'll just smuggle in some Coors from Colorado and keep the party going. But when you read to the bottom here, it does say, disclaimer, do you need us? Do you need to be told that this advertisement is fake and not to be taken seriously? Our lawyers do think so. Well, here's my thought. I think that we've got to, and I looked this up. I mean, I'm not a historian or anything, but Pontiac was founded in 1926. So 2026 would be a 100-year anniversary. Why in the hell would this chatter start taking place at the perfect time where if they were at the end of this year to announce, boom, we're going to launch one FIREBIRD. And by the way, it wouldn't surprise me if they built it on the Camaro chassis and went ahead and stuck a screaming chicken on the hood, changed the headlights around a little bit, and sold the FIREBIRD with a big V8 and just did, a year run, 2-year run, whatever it is, kind of like they're doing with the Hummer EVs. They would take pre-orders like you wouldn't believe. They would know what they're building as they take the orders. And would dealers do stupid stuff? Absolutely. We'd have to go through all that crap again. But nonetheless, at least something would be coming back with a V8. So do I think they floated this to test the market, to see what kind of chatter takes place? Well, I'll tell you, there's plenty of chatter. There's chatter all over the place, especially in GM and Pontiac groups. Everyone's talking about it. And everyone's starting to put 2 and 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 and 4 together that you've got 1926, 2026 is coming up. Why in the hell would they buy this super expensive ad? And why would Car and Driver give up the revenue for a super expensive ad just to screw with everybody? And I'd like to think people have a sense of humor, but I work at a giant company during the day, and I can tell you that there's not that much sense of humor out there when it comes to spending money, especially in a weird economy, in a weird market like this. To go ahead and spend this money on this, to what end, I don't know. And I think that's the question we all have to ask ourselves is, to what end? To what end did they put this ad out there? Is it just to screw with everybody? Well, then there's no end. So what is the end? Could be to float to the market to see what we all say and see what kind of chatter happens, and maybe they launch it. And if they did, I don't know about you all, but I wouldn't be surprised after the whole Hummer thing, which by the way I think is pretty stupid. Big giant 10,000-pound EV does more damage to the environment than my Lamborghini does, or any of our Hellcats. Nonetheless, they launched that thing. A brand that was dead, they brought it back. They could bring this thing back. They've got all that brand equity with it, and they would have no problem selling them, especially with Stellantis falling all over themselves, screwing that company up and getting rid of the cars we love. They could sell so many of anything with the V8 in it right now, especially a V8 muscle style car. That thing would sell like crazy. So I got to think, and my gut tells me that there is absolutely some truth to this thing. Now, I may look stupid later on, but I always say, to what end? Why would they do it just for the sake of doing it? When they had April Fools, they could have done it then, but they didn't do it then. This came out, what's the date on this damn thing? May, June issue of this sucker. So they could have done it in April and screwed with us then. It would have fit perfectly if it was really a joke. But if it's for real, it makes sense. Coming up on 100 years, they killed it because they had to kill it. Wasn't making money. But right now, they could literally take the Camaro that they just killed and change it around a little bit, not even do a whole bunch of changes, and turn that thing around, sell it as a Pontiac FIREBIRD. And by the way, are they allergic to, or are they averse to rebadging stuff? Absolutely not. They were doing that back with Pontiac before, which is part of the reason Pontiac got killed. So in the end, folks, I think there's possibility. If you ask me my opinion, which a lot of you have, I think there's a chance we see the Screaming Chicken coming back, probably in a Camaro. And the last thing I'll answer is, do I think that's why Tim Kuniskis left? He's going to go work at GM? Man, I certainly would love to see that, but I don't think that, because a lot of times these guys got to sign NDAs and heavy non-competes that would hold him out for a while. With that said, if his non-compete's a year, then a year goes by, he could easily parachute right over and launch this Pontiac thing. And what the hell? I think he would love doing it. I would love that. I think that's a long reach, a reach that makes no sense at this point, and I don't think he would plan that out, most certainly, while he was still at Stellantis. That just generally doesn't happen, and if it is, then we'll see it happen soon. That announcement might come out. but it could take up to a year if he signs some stuff to keep his mouth shut and stay out of the market. But nonetheless, I do want to address at the closing of this video, for those of you that wanted to argue with me and fight with me in the comment section about Tim Kuniskis actually retiring, those of you super sweet, gullible people. I mean, God bless you and your actual like kind belief in the world and believing that these big corporations would ever tell you the truth. And I'll tell you, they're no different than politicians. This big giant corporation doesn't have any interest in telling us the truth about anything. The bottom line is, when somebody who's spent 32 years at a company puts his retirement notice in and steps down within 2 weeks, there's something more to it. That just is how it is. There's more to it. And a lot of times what's more to it is, conversation was had where he pushed back so hard on the horrible direction of Dodge, and then they came back and said, look, go ahead and retire or we're going to cut you loose. And if you do it this way, we're going to pay you a bunch of money. You go away peacefully and quietly, and we all go in our separate directions. And I got to think that's what happened. And anybody who thinks otherwise, I think is just naive. And I think we have to question the authority. We have to question the leadership of these companies that have been lying to us for so long. And for people, any of you, to suddenly impart some high level of integrity on these companies, that they would tell us the truth, they would actually have a guy 32 years put 2-week notice in, that makes no sense. I've seen CEOs actually retire, and they usually will stay there sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year. Sometimes they have several years while they're handing off the company and transitioning. A lot of times they'll stay behind as a consultant for a while. That way the transition goes smooth and Wall Street doesn't get spooked. In this one, it's like he's retiring, and in 2 weeks, in 14 days, this dude is out of Stellantis, out of Dodge. Come on, man. Come on. You got to think about that one. There's no way. I think Tim gave him crap for a couple years, been fighting behind the scenes, and finally it came down to, dude, you got to go, or he said, I got to go, and let's do this where we don't blow each other up. I get paid, you get paid, and I go away peacefully. And I think that's what happened. So with that, leave your comments below. Tell me what you think about this whole Pontiac thing, and if you think it's actually real. I only think that based on the history of the Hummer, when they brought that thing back, that it just makes sense that GM would jump on an opportunity right now while Dodge is floundering, and while Mustang's still making V8s and they're getting rid of the Camaro, that they can't go back on that. They can't really walk that back. I mean, I guess they could, but this would be a perfect way for them to walk it back without walking it back and then delivering a V8 to the market. You know they can do, you know it can get done. And when it says hybrid, I'll tell you right now, that means it's got a car battery in it, because you don't get that kind of horsepower and everything, and you don't build a cheap car as a hybrid. Hybrid just is expensive technology. So I think in the end, this could be just, order-only cars or something, kind of like that whole Hummer EV thing, where they knew what they were selling before they were selling them. And yes, sadly, they get marked up to the moon, and we'd all be fighting over them. Blah, blah, blah. Same old stuff, rinse, repeat. So thanks, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.